Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
Police officers of Reddit, what are some things innocent people do that make them seem suspicious? I've been a cop long enough that I don't try to guess at people's behavior anymore. People get nervous and act weird around cops. My wife cried the last time she got pulled over. "Officer, I've got my license and registration in my glove box. I'm pulling it out, it's not a gun, haha. Imagine if it was though. Ha ha ha." Quote. Pulls it out quickly as a joke. Retired police here from UK. Innocent people seem to confess everything even when not a crime, as they're so desperate not to be in trouble. Example, knocking on doors for information. Guy answers door and immediately started to confess his tires are a little bald and he has some dodgy cigarettes and he did accidents drop some litter. Like, dude, chill out, it's fine. That's just being British, we tend to over-explain everything. Oh really? Tell me more. ITT, no actual Leos answering the question. Never change Reddit. But I have a sister who knows a cop. Not a cop, but every single time, as someone who enjoys donuts and spousal abuse. I was a fire investigator for a while. It was talking a lot. Now some people just talk a lot when they get nervous, and that's easy to tell. Like, those people aren't actually talking about anything, they're just saying words at you. The suspicious ones are the ones who are clearly trying to talk you directly to where they've set up the diversion but can't just stop talking about it and adding more and more and more details. To the point where they've remembered too much about what happened. Maybe they grew up with a parent that never believed them. Over-explaining is my personality flaw. It's not over-explaining really. It's easy to tell when someone is an over-explainer. You can tell someone is hiding something because if you start to go a different direction, they hardcore steer you back to whatever they were saying at any cost. Edit, clarity. Okay, so short and simple lies then. What fire? To the point where they've remembered too much about what happened. Yup. Just try to recount what happened to you an hour ago. I have a hard time remembering concise details because I'm not actively memorizing everything that happens to me. It is weird for someone to do that, so it makes sense what you are saying. I've always wondered about that. Tell me where you were at 5:15 on the 12th of October 23. How the hell would I know that off the top of my head? I might not even be able to tell you looking at a calendar. I mean, normally I am at my desk if it's a weekday. But what if that was a day the dog ran out of food? You could show me a picture of me in my car driving, and if it's local, I probably still wouldn't be able to tell you what I was doing, except driving my car. And if it's a weekend, there is little chance I will be able to tell you where I was or what I was doing. Former Leo. I can tell you the most helpful thing for you, yet most infuriating, to the Leo, is to keep your mouth shut. Just, quit talking. It will be much better for you in the long run. I was never looking to just jam somebody up, but man, people get themselves in so much trouble with their mouth. I was always curious what would happen. I guess it's up to the cop if they want to be a dick and keep you detained for a long time until you say something, but they cannot arrest you for being silent, right? Former Leo here. Yes, you have the right to remain silent. That's always, not just after being arrested. That all said, if you legit haven't done anything wrong, you don't need to be a complete wall of silence, as that makes you look suspicious. But yeah, also say very little in case the cop is a douche who will choose to ruin your night. I'm chatty when I'm nervous and say stupid shit all the time. Lots of people do, but when I'm answering a cop, I'll feel them out and crack a joke or two, and that's it. After that, I give yes, no answers and leave ASAP. I was a cop for less than a year and I'll try to answer this. It's being hostile for no obvious reason. From the temperature in this thread and the other commenters, this won't go over very well, because, fuck cops, there's no law that says I have to talk to you, I know my rights, and so on. Whatever, fair enough. But the answer to the question, what do innocent people do that makes them seem suspicious, is exactly this shit. Normally, people who aren't hiding criminal activity treat cops with some arm's length politeness and basic civility. They don't want to talk to a cop, but they aren't outright hostile, and they'll answer some questions to get the interaction over with as quickly as possible. People who went the top with the hostility for no apparent reason got my attention. Edit, I'm going to turn off notifications on this now so I can get some schoolwork done. Thank you for all the comments and thoughts, unless you're one of the ones I told to fuck off. Respect is a two-way street. If the cop approaches me with a dickhead, stuck-up, enforcement type of attitude, I'll give the same shitty fuckhead attitude back. If a cop approaches me with respect and treats me like a human, they get that same exact respect back. I think most cops forget the way people respond to them is how they start their interaction with them. There are two types of cops, protectors and then there are enforcers. Protectors deserve and receive respect. Enforcers can fuck right off. It's 100% on how the cops carries themselves, and that's the truth. You do you, but if a dickhead cop with an aggressive and rude attitude pulls me over in traffic, I'm still going to be absolutely passive and polite because I have nothing to gain from escalating a confrontation with the police on my way to work. Call it a lack of pride or whatever, some hills just aren't worth dying on. I don't disagree with you in the slightest, but the balance of power is so heavily skewed to the cop in that scenario that you are doing yourself absolutely zero favors by expecting the respect to be two-way and reacting negatively if the dicks when approaching you. Which is funny, considering I got pulled over for having a broken mirror, was driving to get it fixed too lol, and I just cracked a couple jokes. About 5 minutes later I'm talking to someone on the phone and they were practically yelling at me that a cop can't pull me over for such a thing and I should have just refused. About half a year later they got arrested, by the same cop. When my wife and I first started dating, we were on a road trip with 8 people in 2 cars, she was driving the car behind me and a friend was driving the car I was in. We got pulled over, frankly because my now wife was tailgating us because she thought we should both be driving faster. The cop went back and forth between the 2 cars a few times, then came up to my window and said, "So is that your girlfriend driving the other car?" Me, "Yes it is. Would it surprise you to know she has an outstanding warrant?" Me, "No sir, it would not." He had to walk away to hide the fact that he was cracking up. He still gave her a fix-it ticket to take care of the warrant, but I feel it was a small victory for making his day. I was a police officer for 25 years and it's hard to answer this question. Reactions to the presence of a police officer varies by the person, whether innocent or guilty. It was common for most people to appear nervous and watch me, without trying to be obvious they were doing so. This was especially entertaining in traffic. However, some drivers would keep their heads fixed straight ahead and appeared as stiff as a statue when stopped at a red light. I imagined them thinking that if they did not look at me I would not notice them. I would sometimes turn my head and make it obvious I was looking directly at them. If they finally gave in and turned their head to look at me, I would smile. I tried to smile a lot to put people at ease. Be yourself, and if you are nervous, you are like many other innocent people. I'm a retired police officer and I even get nervous while driving with a police officer behind me. Edited so someone wasn't confused about being stopped at a red light. An added side note, some people found it to be some sort of evidence of police being evil because I said I even get nervous when a police officer is behind me when I am driving. It was extremely subtle humor. I have no fear of the police, but I do fear my insurance company raising my rates if I get a ticket. I've been pulled over a few times in my life and I survived without a scratch. I even had my car searched before I was a police officer. There was nothing to find and I was sent on my way. I did hate getting pulled over in unmarked police cars because the license plates do not come back to anything. They just show, not on file. If an officer is new and does not realize this, they could think it was a stolen car or suspicious. Closing square bracket. I imagined them thinking that if they did not look at me I would not notice them. Everyone knows that police vision is based on movement. I think it might actually be eye contact, like teachers. I always pick my nose when I see cops, hoping they won't want to interact with someone so gross. I wouldn't have wanted to hand you a pen to sign a ticket, so you may have got a pass from me. However, I had to hand someone a pen that had been doing something much worse with their hand. I told him to keep the pen. I'm not a cop, but STFU. Not a cop, but I'm halfway through season 4 of The Wire. I watched Matlock in a bar last night. The sound wasn't on, but I think I got the gist. Removed. As someone who tries to be as clear as possible, and ends up being more confusing, this has permanently heightened my anxiety about dealing with police. My mom's this way and learned an excellent little at-home game you can do with a friend or family member to help overcome that anxiety. Have your partner ask you basic questions about your day, or a memory. Your goal is to keep your answers as short and concise as possible. Don't keep track of it. You'll only heighten anxiety by tracking it. Just make a conscious effort to keep your answers short and simple. I had an officer clarify unintentional suspicious activity, if it helps. It was a super hot day, and an officer was just sitting in his car in the hot sun in the parking lot with his window rolled down. I was walking to my car and told him it was pretty hot out and I was heading to Taco Bell. Asked him if he wanted me to grab him a drink or something while I was there. He said no, he was good. So I hopped in my car and started to pull out of the parking lot. I noticed the officer started pulling out of his spot. I started driving to Taco Bell down the road, and sure enough, the officer was following me. I pulled into the Taco Bell parking lot and parked. The officer pulled up his car behind mine, blocking me in. He started asking all sorts of questions about my personal life, where do I work, and so on. He eventually just said, "What you just did was super suspicious." I asked how being nice to someone is suspicious, and he just put it into drive and drove off. I started walking into Taco Bell and noticed he discreetly pulled into a parking lot across the street. I know the Taco Bell peeps pretty well, so I went in there for an entire hour just chillin', eating, and generally socializing. Afterwards, I left, started driving to a gas station, and the officer pulled out of the parking lot and started following me along with 2 other police cars. Suddenly I had 3 police cars just following me all over town for the next 15 minutes. They eventually pulled away and that was it. So I guess being nice to police officers is considered extremely suspicious. / Your first mistake was talking to a cop. I know, I'm a day early for it, but I just wanted to drop a friendly reminder to all. This would have gone down totally different if you were headed to Dunkin' Donuts. I used to sell weed at a coffee donut shop. It's funny because I got to know the cops pretty good. I'd always bring a book with me and read while just hanging around, knew the owners and staff and they were fine with what I was doing. My shift, if that's what you'd call it, was about 6:30 p.m. to about 11:30 p.m. Cops would come in, coffee, donuts were free for them. It was a smaller town so it was the only place open, so they'd come in to eat quite often. Sort of built a minor rapport with them, more or less acknowledged each other as being regulars, a bit of casual small talk here and there. I don't know how to explain it but they always seemed kind of suspicious of me. Then one night some guy was beaten bloody, unconscious outside and around the corner and saw him on my walk there, went and used the payphone and called 911. The cops I see every day pull up first, asked me what I knew, since they knew I was a regular there it wasn't overly intrusive like, what are you doing here etc. All I said was I came to get my coffee and found him on my way. After that, they definitely no longer seemed suspicious of me and having that rapport with them definitely got me out of some sticky situations over the next few years. I once was made to do a field sobriety test after getting pulled over picking my boyfriend up at a bar. After I passed, the officer made this offhanded remark that I seemed too friendly. I was being friendly because I didn't have anything to hide. Fuck cops. Damn, I crashed my car once trying to impress this girl by drifting. I know I'm stupid, and I hit a curb, fire hydrant. Homeowners came out and called the cops. 3 cars showed up and one of the officers asked if I was drinking and I told him straight up I'm just an idiot who tried to impress a girl. I think he felt bad for me because he didn't even write me a ticket or do a field sobriety test. Just wrote some stuff down on his notepad, told me the city will send me a letter to pay for any damages on the fire hydrant, waited for the tow truck to show up and they all left.